about 4 months ago, also in April of this year. Before that, he was the last person to get hit with the Ortega guillotine bug previous to Cub Swanson. That was July of last year. He got submitted by Brian Ortega with a third-round guillotine. Fight of the night there. Moicano looked really good. Moicano was probably winning that fight also before he pulled off Ortega pulled off the comeback submission. That's an interesting story. Ortega has this death grip on these guillotines. Again, people aren't even necessarily submitting people a ton with guillotines in the first place, and he seems to be able to do it 80% of the time to anybody. So it's super interesting as far as Ortega. Love to see that fight with him and Holloway. Looking forward to that. Before that, Moicano had a victory over Jeremy Stevens, split decision victory. That was April of last year. So he, even though he's ranked number 10 here somehow, with Ortega being ranked, I think, number 1 or 2, and Jeremy Stevens, just last week he fought I guess who was number 1, Jose Aldo, and he looked really good. You got to think Moicano's looking awesome right now. He is 12-1-1 overall MMA, 5 of those coming by submission. 5'11". You're going to have a 4-inch height advantage here over Cub Swanson. 72-inch reach. He's only going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here, but I don't think there's really much of a striking advantage for him in this fight. He is a black belt in Muay Thai, and he is a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. Similar accolades here to Cub Swanson. I guess Cub Swanson's not really a Muay Thai fighter, but he's going to be fighting out of Brasilia, Brazil as well. The breakdown here, Moicano is he's all about destruction. He's going to come in and throw leg kicks, throw elbows, throw knees. He's long, he's lanky, and he wants to grapple. For Cub Swanson, it's going to be super important to not... Well, in my opinion, he's going to have to fight to be the aggressor. So he doesn't want to be put on his back at all by Moicano. He wants to probably initiate a lot of a wrestling or a lot of a grappling and try to get on top of Moicano, dominate the positional game, and then use his heavy hands. He definitely has the most knockout power out of the two of these guys. I don't think that's questionable. Moicano has good technical jiu-jitsu or technical Muay Thai. But as far as power goes, I don't think he's really on the same level as Cub Swanson, or at least he hasn't shown like he is so far in his career. That's going to be super, super important for Cub Swanson to be the aggressor because Moicano usually is. He comes up with the traditional Thai style and then kind of a crazy jiu-jitsu game to back it up, sort of an abstract jiu-jitsu game to back it up. Super dangerous, like I said, at 5'11", long arm, 72-inch reach. His only loss in the UFC was to Brian Ortega. All that being said, I really like Cub Swanson to rebound out of his two-loss streak here. It's really tough to tell how this might go, but I'm just going to say a decision victory. I think it's going to be a banger. This is going to be a fun fight to watch. But I see something like a decision victory for Cub Swanson. The crazy thing is, though, is these odds are much more skewed the opposite of what I think here. Let's take a look at right now. Renato Moicano is a minus 365 favorite. Cub Swanson a plus 275. So Las Vegas and all of the bettors do not agree with me. I guess most people here think Cub Swanson is going to be past his prime. And Moicano has just looked so good lately that he could be undefeated or he could be having a title shot had it not been for that loss to Brian Ortega. But I just think that it's going to be tough. Cub Swanson's going to put some damage on him. I don't think that Moicano has enough power to really put Cub Swanson out. And unless he gets submitted, I think that Cub Swanson wins this fight. All right, let's move on to the women's strawweight division. A fight between somewhat new names here in the UFC, at least. We have on one side Poliana Viana, and on the other side J.J. Aldridge. Viana's last couple of fights in the UFC here, she beat Maya Stevenson by a first-round rear naked choke. That was in February of this year. Really looked good in that one. And a first-round armbar, in October of last year over Pamela Rosa. Great technical jiu-jitsu fighter here. Standing at 10-1, 4 knockouts, 6 submissions. All of her victories have been finishes. 5'5", fighting out of Tata Gym in Rio de Janeiro. On the other side, Aldrich, 2-fight win streak, a decision victory over Danielle Taylor, who's also fighting on this card. That was in January of this year. Before that, in June of last year, she had a unanimous decision victory over Chan Mi-jeong. Her only UFC loss came in December of 2016 against Juliana Lima, somebody who's obviously a lot higher up in the rankings, or at least in the UFC repertoire, than either of these two are. So it's not a big knock on her. Both of them are young. 25 years of age for her, 26 for Viana. She's 6-2. 2 of her wins coming from knockout. 2-1 in the UFC, like I said. Just kind of detailed that. 5'5", same height. Do have a 64-inch reach for her. Don't really have one for Viana. I'd assume it's pretty similar on that one. She's a third-degree black belt in Muay Thai, brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu, fighting out of the 303 Training Center in Westminster, Colorado, suburb of Denver there. A pretty decorated belt background, but the 6-2 record, just the 2 knockouts, not necessarily that dangerous. I guess it's similar to Polyana Viana's 4 knockouts and 10 victories, but all of Viana's victories have been by either knockout or submission. Viana's going to be a minus 315 favorite right now, plus 245 for Aldrich. And I have to say that I agree. I don't think that the jiu-jitsu game is going to be able to keep up. I see Viana winning by just some sort of a submission, arm bar, rear naked choke. Rear naked would probably be the most common or something like that. But I don't have a lot of breakdown for this fight here. I just think it's going to be a relatively outmatched Aldrich taking on, a lifelong seasoned grappler who's still young, 26 years old, but she literally grew up doing it. And just, has a knack for submitting everybody. Real quick, I see a first-round submission here. Polyana Viana. All right, moving to the middleweight division. Well, it can be one of the heaviest weight fights in the entire card. Actually, look at this. It is the heaviest weight fight on the entire card is a middleweight. It's certainly an interesting choice there, but they kind of like to do things in weird matches like that. This one, another matchup with a ranked fighter. Not the biggest of names ever, but we have on one side the number 13 ranked Thiago Santos, and on the other side we have Kevin Holland. Thiago Santos had been on a roll, including a second-round TKO of Anthony Smith, who is on a tear himself right now, and that was actually Anthony Smith's last fight at middleweight. I'm pretty sure that was a fight of the night back in February. Before that, a first-round TKO, body kick and punches, vicious body kicks from this motherfucker. Black belt in Muay Thai, beast. But kind of got derailed here in April of this year. A first-round knockout from David Branch, ex-World Series of Fighting champion. I love David Branch. Everybody gives him shit, but I think he's badass. Santos trying to get back on the right track. There's definitely he's definitely got a lot of power. Definitely interesting. That David Branch Santos fight could, if it would have went longer, been a fight of the night, or even a possible fight of the year candidate. Branch looked really good in that one though. Thiago Santos, 17-6, 12 of those by knockout. What's that, like 65% of him by knockout, something like that. 9-5 in the UFC. 6 foot, 76-inch reach, 34 years old, not getting any younger. Like I already said, black belt in Muay Thai, purple belt in the jiu-jitsu game, fighting at a Tata Gym in Rio de Janeiro. On the other side, Kevin Holland just kind of getting into the UFC here. The Tuesday night contender, he won. I think he was at the finale, but he did have a unanimous decision victory in June of this year, so like 2 months ago on the Dana White's Tuesday night contender series. I think it might have been the headliner of the finale. Before that, fought in Bellator. His last fight was in March of this year. He had a first-round triangle submission victory over Tegan Dooley. Not super familiar with that guy, sorry. But yeah, just kind of getting started here in the UFC. He's going to be packing a 12-3 record, 6 of those by knockout, 5 of those by submission. Only one fight has he ever won. Went to a decision. That was the most recent one with Will Santiago. 6'3", really big for middleweight, 25 years old, fighting out of Phalanx MMA in Fort Worth, Texas. It's tough for me to say, Kevin Holland, the thing that really sticks out to me right there is going to be the 11 finishes in the 12 victories there. But also got the 3 losses outside of the UFC. It's definitely good. But I just don't know if he's on Thiago Santos' level right now. Santos' Muay Thai game is just so vicious. And he's going to be given leg kicks, body kicks. It's going to be really difficult. Kevin Holland is huge, though. I will say that 6'3" for middleweight is massive. Compared to the 6' Thiago Santos, 6' isn't small. 76-inch reach though is going to make a pretty big difference. I just see Santos striking as being so next level on this one that he's going to have a pretty significant advantage there. As far as on the ground, you'd probably say he would as well. I don't know that he wants to go to the ground. Kevin Holland, with the 5 submissions and 12 victories there, that is more than Thiago Santos. So I guess that, being so long, that would probably be the weak spot there. But let me take a look at the odds here. I'm pretty sure Santos is going to be a favorite. Yeah, Santos is a minus 375, so huge favorite here. Kevin Holland a plus 285. It's not good on the money here, but I think that we're looking at a possible knockout here again of Kevin Holland by Thiago Santos. If not, it's going to be a pretty bad beating. But I'm going to go ahead and say a second round TKO, probably some damage to the body, and then finishing it off to the head, Thiago Santos. Alrighty, now we get into the good shit. We get into the juice. The first of what I consider to be co-main events for sure. The bigger one is the main event, but this is no slouch at all. Both of these are going to be matchups between a champion and a number 1 contender. Both of these are going to be rematches. This first one here, let's go to the flyweight division. You know who we're talking about. We got the champion, Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson, taking on the number 1 contender, Henry Cejudo. As you guys can imagine, Mighty Mouse is going to be a massive favorite here. Since his first round TKO of Henry Cejudo, what was that, a little over 2 years ago, again, defended the belt 3 times, beating Tim Elliott with a decision, beating Wilson Hayes with a 3rd round armbar over the black belt. That was a fucking impressive one there. And then a 5th round armbar over Ray Borg at the very end of the fight, I think 4 minutes and 99 seconds. That was his 11th defense of the belt, most of all time, against Ray Borg. Demetrius Johnson definitely in the GOAT conversation here, has every single capability, probably the most athletic overall, him or Sage Northcutt. Those guys are on a next level. But, one of the most athletic fighters in the UFC overall. Maybe the smartest fighter in the UFC. I think that there's an argument to be made that he is the most intelligent fighter in the UFC. Strong, powerful, can fight bigger guys, fast, super impressive. One of my favorite fighters to watch. Obviously, with the high strike output, it's going to be an exciting fight with him in it. I believe he has one of the highest, if not the highest, strikes per minute in the UFC. A lot of that is because he fights at the flyweight division, the smallest division for the males. But either way, his output's just completely incredible. And even though he fights at such a lightweight, he does deliver a lot of damage. Not a ton of knockouts, although he did get the knockout of Henry Cejudo here. He still does stun people a lot and pull off some pretty incredible shit. On the other side, Henry Cejudo, we've been here before. Well, I guess I should give a shout out to Mighty Mouse at least for his, we'll say at least he's fighting out of AMC Pancration in Parkland, Washington. Coach Matt Hume, been there his entire career. They've really come up through the game together and become champions together and have just had a long career. So I definitely want to give a shout out to him there. All the little stats and shit don't really matter in this one. On the other side, Cejudo. In 2008, he became the youngest American to win a freestyle Olympic gold medal. I believe he was, 23 or 22, something like that. So definitely has a solid wrestling background, probably more so than Demetrius, and that's probably his best advantage of this fight here.